frame is not mentioned there, presuming that every person who occupies the office of speaker will behave respectfully and in a dignified way.
The new twist to the political drama in Karnataka. Speaker K.R. Ramesh has rejected the resignations of 9 MLAs on a technicality, saying that these resignations were in the wrong format. He's asked the MLAs as well to meet him in person before he takes a final decision. The Times network has tracked down the rebel Karnataka MLAs in Mumbai. They've shifted hotels and BJP workers have been caught on camera surrounding these rebel MLAs. The JDS has made a sensational allegation against the BJP, saying that the BJP is now spending 1,000 crore rupees to purchase their MLAs. A 20-year-old commits suicide after being discriminated against for his sexual orientation. His body has been found by the police at a beach. You are with the big story at 5 p.m. I'm Sahar Zaman. A very tragic note here. Another young life that has been lost because of homophobia. A 20-year-old from Mumbai who was a trainee at a salon in Chennai was allegedly discriminated against over his sexual orientation. Avinshu Patel, who posted his ordeal on social media of how he was teased, he was traumatized by this. He was labeled for the way he moved, for the way he walked, for the way he spoke before committing suicide. Avinshu's body was found later at the beach, at the Leedankarai beach in Chennai. The body has now been brought back to Mumbai to his family. This incident that has once again brought to fore deep-rooted homophobia that exists in our society, and this is despite 1 year of having Section 377 repealed by the Supreme Court as well. We have with us our correspondent Pramod getting us further inputs here. Pramod, with ongoing investigations, the police of course confirming that this is a case of suicide. Is there any indication of who were these people who caused this trauma? Because there have been voices that have come in from his workplace as well, saying that they were very happy with him, his work, him as a personality, and they were shocked with this decision of suicide.
Well, it's very unfortunate that such an incident occurred, and we just speak to the investigation officer who has clearly mentioned that the body was found on 3rd of July, and initially they thought that the boy might have drowned, but after inquiry they found out that he also had bought poison. So they are waiting for the autopsy report to find out whether he consumed poison and did it enter the sea, venture into the sea for such reason. So they are waiting for that. But however, even before they could come to any other conclusion, they were not aware that Avinshu has gone ahead and posted his entire difficult ordeal on Facebook. There he has consecutively mentioned about the people who have supported them. At the same time, people are how he was being discriminated for being different, for acting different, and he claims to be completely frustrated because he had tried to cope up with being special, but he did face a lot of discrimination and various forms of life, and that's the reason he had gone and decided it. Even in those after below his post, you could see so many people trying to support him and say that there are this is not the end and you could still survive, but unfortunately he could not take the pain or the pleasure or the pressure anymore, and that's the reason it seems that he has decided to end his life. Very unfortunate that homophobia has once again killed and sucked away an innocent soul.
Pramod, stay on with us, please. We're getting in more voices here because this is not just extremely tragic, but a reflection of our society that despite India being a country that needs to be safe for all kinds of people, all sorts of people, this is a case of suicide coming only with respect to your sexual orientation. We have Ms. Kalki Subramanian, who is the director of the Sahodari Foundation. Now, the Sahodari Foundation is a helpline that takes calls from people who are undergoing this trauma here. Thanks for being with us, Kalki. In your view, this is a case of suicide wherein which the victim here has made it very clear that the reason why he's taken this extreme step is just one reason on how he felt discriminated upon or laughed upon because of the way he was.
Yeah. Yeah, it is totally disheartening, and I'm really heartbroken to see that young people who deserve a great life, even after Section 377 decriminalized, choose death just because of bullying, you know. And bullying is such a disaster for young people, especially for teenagers and people in their 20s, because it is a nightmare. I believe that this could definitely be changed only when we educate our young Indian people on gender and sexual rights. And of course, LGBT rights should be included in our education system. We cannot be blind on these issues, talking about culture and religion all the time. People are dying, and young people are dying, and they should be stopped. And
right.
Section 377,
Kalki, from your understanding on the number of cases that you deal with on people who are discriminated upon for the way they are or for the choices here that may make, in this particular case, where do you think it was coming from? Was it really pressure from the family, or was it pressure at the workplace? Because there have been several voices, his colleagues having spoken out at the workplace here as well, say that they were extremely satisfied as far as him as a professional is concerned. They had extended his training period there as well, and they were largely happy with the way he was.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the organization is all saying. I do not know if it is truth or false, but I would see it from the point of Avi, because workplace, in most of the Indian workplaces, LGBT issues, LGBT life is not sensitized. Even though an organization might come forward to offer jobs and give promotions and acknowledge the talent, it's always the colleagues who are a big problem for the LGBT people. Once they find out that you're a gay or a lesbian or a transgender, it's always someone bullies almost every day. So it's important that at workplaces we sensitize the co-workers, employees, and everybody about these issues, LGBT human rights. Until unless we do this,
right.
It's not going to
and
change.
Kalki, this of course. That's right, and this is the biggest challenge which was spoken about here even last year when there were celebrations in a very significant decision here that was taken by the Supreme Court on repealing Section 377 after decades and decades and a century of being around here. It was a challenge as far as shaking up society and telling them that this is acceptable. And this should not be discriminated upon. And that continues to be a challenge as we've seen 1 year down the line.
Yes, I mean, only last year the Section 377 has been decriminalized. There's a long way to go for social acceptance, and at workplaces and at educational institutions, safety and security and non-discrimination policies have to be implemented to safeguard and ensure a dignified and secure life for LGBT people. And it is happening. I believe that it is happening, but it is happening at a very slow pace. I think the government should also come forward to take initiatives to protect LGBT kids. And I think that's one of the most important things that has to be done. And the judiciary must ensure and push the government towards protecting LGBT people from discrimination and bullying. Yes, and also as
right.
activists
and very plainly put, as you said, not just discrimination. This is a case of bullying. It should be widened and looked at as a case of bullying against one particular person, irrespective of who the person is and how the person chooses to live. It is a case of bullying here to the extent of the person taking that extreme step of committing suicide, being depressed. And this is a very young life, a 20-year-old who chose to take this extreme step with a young, promising life ahead, and yet he took that extreme step here. We also have Romal, LGBTQ rights activist, with us on the phone line. Romal, your first reaction to this case here that has come in, it has come in from a big city like Chennai. It has come in a year after Section 377 having been repealed by the Supreme Court, and it has come in despite various discussions that have continued to take in the past 1 year, that each one of us are equally part of society and we all need to move ahead equally.
I think my first reaction is that I'm disappointed in myself as a queer activist, as a queer person. I also come from the city of Chennai, and I live in the very same city that that young boy committed suicide in. And something that first, before, I point fingers at the rest of society and say that, people need to put in anti-discriminatory laws and we need to have a more strict way of looking at bullying and all of that. I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of us within the community to re-look at the way we provide services to our own community, about how available we are, about how approachable and accessible we are as a community, irrespective of where this might be. Like, I'm not saying it just happened because it was in Chennai. This could be Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, wherever. Suicides are happening constantly within the community, and it's about time we started reacting and, kind of putting in these services in such a way that they're accessible to everyone and anyone who's in need of it at any point of time. So that's my first reaction. This is a wake-up call, and it's a good wake-up call. I think the celebrations that happened since last year kind of exhilarated us, and, the reality of the situation was something that some of us thought we could ignore for a while. But the reality of the situation is this is the India we're living in, where young people can still be bullied and discriminated to a point of where they decide to take their own lives.
And ironically, this coming in when you have the world across, including India, of course, marking and celebrating the parade week, being the first weekend of July there. Let's also get in further detail. Stay with us, Romal. Our correspondent Pramod, who's been getting us further inputs here on this. Pramod, have we heard from the family yet, and what have they stated?
Well, the family stays in Mumbai, and he came to Chennai on 1st of April. He joined the salon, and there he had got only nothing but praises because he seemed to be extremely talented and creative, and that's the reason. Just within weeks of training, he was also put into advanced training, and he wanted to become a nail paint artist. And even the owners of the salon and his colleagues, they claimed they were extremely satisfied with the way he showed dedication. He was working, and a few of many of his colleagues were not even aware that he was gay, and he did not want to reveal it. He was trying to curb certain feelings, and that's what he has written on those Facebook posts as well. That long and detailed post, he claims that how he had to hide himself because there certain people did not like the way what he was. He claims that he was a boy, but his behavior was entirely different. He was he actually blaming himself for whatever was occurring, but at the same time he made very sure that his colleagues or none of them are responsible for what the decision he's taken, because he was mentioning their names also, and he was only praising them. The same kind of praise we got from his colleagues as well, because to them he was they did not discriminate him in any way. He was such a kind person. That's the only thing they're able to say.
Yes, let's also get in Harish Iyer with us over the phone line, well-known equal rights activist here. Harish, thanks for being with us. This is very tragic, and also the irony in this that we're discussing a case of this extreme of a suicide here at a time when you have the world marking Pride Week, a question of taking pride in who you are and what you are. All right, I apologize. We have, in fact, Dr. Harish Shetty with us over the phone line. Dr. Harish, psychiatrist with us. Thank you for being with us, Doctor. When we're talking about Pride Week, when we're talking about taking pride in who we are, how we are, what we do, it still continues to remain a daunting task as far as acceptability in society is concerned. And this is what this case is all about. It's about acceptability, irrespective of how good he was at work, of how successful he was, of how he was accepted in his family or not, about larger acceptability in society.
I think in a globalized world, awareness has improved, but awareness also causes exclusion. And that, I think, is one of the most important issues we are confronting with across the country. Now, when we look at acceptability, there's a lot of cerebral acceptability. and people accept people as they are intellectually, but that does not integrate into an emotional acceptability. And what happens is there's a subtle exclusion. There are exclusions which is based on behaviors which smell, which reek of rejection. Also, what is very important to understand that India is in the midst of an epidemic of gloom. And this is not what I'm talking about, the President of India said. So sometimes mood changes remain very invisible, and they are not identified by people around, and it can present in a manner which is very cunning. So a host of factors, acceptability, mood changes, point to the fact that we need to be aware that God is a champion of diversity, and there would be diverse people, diverse choices, diverse behaviors, diverse needs, which all integrate into a heterogeneous group, and moods, depression, and rejection, and bullying are important issues. And people bully, it's not because the bullying has increased. In an angst-driven world, violence has increased, suicide has increased, and bullying is a subtle form of violence, which only means that the age of violence is actually going down. Age of bullying is going down. It is now even in primary schools. So we need to have a complete overhaul of our emotional states. We need to look at emotional issues and mental issues right at the age when a kid is in school.
Right, and talking about starting at an age when a child is in school, Dr. Harish, one of our panelists also stated here that it's important to inculcate this as part of school education as well, as far as treating each and every person equally, talking about LGBTQ rights and how everyone needs to be seen equally. Are you in agreement with that?
I think emotional equity is one of the most important prerequisites in a school, and for that I think teachers and parents need to be sensitized, and respect for each other in a classroom is more important than love. Respect means accepting people as they are. You can always choose, you can never choose your parents and your colleagues in school, and that is something we need to accept, and that's something we need to start very early, very, very early, maybe in play school.
Right. Dr. Shetty, does it surprise you or shock you that this case of suicide coming in a year after you have Section 377 having been repealed in our country, that was just the first major step, but there are several such steps to be taken as far as changing people's mentality regarding this, changing people on how they think about the LGBTQ?
I completely agree, ma'am. The law can give an impetus to a movement, but till the time social engineering and social metamorphosis does not take place, the law will remain only in letter and not in spirit. What is very important is the law has given us a cue that we need to work across borders, across layers, in an era where industrialization has caused a lot of angst, and everybody is trying to bark at the other, and the most vulnerable get hit the most. And so the children, people with differences, people with different sexual choices, elderly and the women are targeted, and we need to really work at a war footing so that LGBT is accepted across borders, and we should not be only sitting tight saying that 370 has been repealed, but the real impact of the court order will be when we work on the ground.
That's right. Far more work that needs to be done here on ground. Romal, do you think that we're still staring at a situation here that leave alone friends, colleagues, other members of society who need to be counseled and spoken to about? It needs to start from counseling your own family members as well.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people think that we won a huge battle with 377, and legally, yes, we did. I mean, legally now we are considered, non-criminals and all of that. But what I think we're not really taking very seriously, and this is not just the community, but India as a society as a whole, is we're not understanding that, so many years of repression and so many years of telling people that who they are was wrong has led to an epidemic of sorts where young people who come into the community or who realize that they're queer or LGBTQIA+, often don't accept themselves. And that's the case with this particular young boy in Chennai, where you see, if you look at his suicide note, he's very, very, very detailedly described, not blaming anyone, but blaming himself. And for me, that is the saddest part of this, that someone in 2019 in a city like Chennai, originally he was from Bombay.
And Romal, do you think... In fact, let me put that question here across to a well-known equal rights activist, Harish Iyer, with us over the phone line. Harish, thanks for being with us. We've, of course, been discussing this shocking, very tragic case here that's coming from Chennai. Does it make it more disturbing that here's a promising, bright youngster who's doing well professionally, has a very bright future ahead, coming from a big city like Mumbai, moving across and working at another big city like Chennai, and yet feels that discrimination to take this extreme step?
I think it's got nothing to do with, irrespective of where you come from. The truth is that you could be at a place which is perceived as very progressive and very accepting, and yet face discrimination at that place. So I think what we need to do is what are the things that we are doing, in the sense that our education system needs an overhaul. Our general societal attitudes need to change. For that, we need to work proactively. The governments of all the governments need to take a stand that what the Supreme Court had ordered us in the Section 377 verdict. They had said that the government has to take the onus of educating people about the verdict, and I think that that all governments have failed miserably in that. So we need to.
Right, and Harish, given the fact that, as you mentioned, we're looking at 1 year down the line here, that responsibilities have not been taken up. It has been 1 year. We have not seen this being told about actively in our education system. There is an initiative by the government that has been missing as far as spreading awareness, sensitizing people in society. That is something that the government should have done as well, has not been done. Are you saying that it has been disappointing, despite that huge victory of having Section 377 repealed? 1 year down the line, there has been absolutely stagnation for the cause.
I think that Section 377, the reading down of Section 377 was a historic step. It was a much needed step, but it doesn't end over there. It in fact begins over there. We have a lot of work to do. There is a lot of sensitization that needs to be done. People need to be aware of the fact that there is life beyond the binary of male and female, and there's life beyond heterosexual and homosexual and transgender. So I think that it's extremely important that there is education, that there are proactive measures. There is more focus on mental health. I mean, of course, it's a case of bullying that led to this, but why is it so difficult for us to find resources when it comes to mental health resources? I think those need to be available at the beck and call of everyone. So I think there are a lot of steps that need to be taken.
Okay, well pointed out there. Right, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. We appreciate all of you for speaking with us. With that, it is a wrap on the show as well. News and updates, though, that continue right here. Stay on with us.